Right? If you're an AUB student and you've got your sights set on a consulting career, this one is definitely for you. We are about to crack open a classic case interview question piece by piece to show you exactly how a top candidate thinks on their feet. Let's jump right in. Okay, picture this. You're in the final round interview. The interviewer leans in and hits you with this question. It's huge, it's vague, and there's no way you could possibly know the exact answer. So what do? And oh yeah, just to add a little pressure, you've only got about 7 minutes to figure it out. This isn't about pulling the right number out of thin air. It's about showing a clear, logical way of thinking, all while the clock is ticking. Okay, let's dive into this. What is the real point of a question like this anyway? Well, it's not a trick. It's a tool, a very specific tool that all the big firms use to see how you handle ambiguity. Can you take a massive, fuzzy problem and break it down into small, solvable pieces? This kind of question has a name. It's called a guesstimate, or a market sizing case. You can think of it like building a house. You don't just show up and start stacking bricks, right? No, you start with a blueprint, a logical structure. And that is exactly what we are going to build. This quote here from the Asade casebook just nails it. The interviewer isn't really interested in the exact number of gigabytes used at AUB. They're testing everything else: your math skills, your creativity, your business sense, and maybe most importantly, how you handle yourself under pressure.
So let's make this real. You are the candidate sitting in the hot seat, the client, AUB's IT department, and this is your mission.
The task is pretty straightforward on the surface. Estimate the total average daily Wi-Fi data used on the AUB campus. They need this info to plan a big network upgrade, so it's a very real-world business problem. So where do you begin? Look, the single biggest mistake you can make is to panic and just start throwing out random numbers. A top candidate never does that. They always start by laying out a clear roadmap, a blueprint for their answer, before they do any math at all. And that blueprint, that roadmap, has 4 very clear steps. First, you ask questions to clarify and narrow down the problem. Second, you give the problem a solid structure. Third, you start making some logical assumptions and do the calculations. And finally, you pull it all together into a clear, confident conclusion. This 4-step approach is your absolute secret weapon against ambiguity. That first step is so crucial. You have to ask clarifying questions. By asking things like, hey, are we talking about just students, or are we including faculty and staff too? And should I assume a typical weekday or like a crazy day during finals? You're doing more than just getting information. You're showing the interviewer that you are a structured thinker who defines a problem before trying to solve it. And this right here is the core of your structure. You'd actually say this out loud to the interviewer. My approach will be to break down the total campus population into different groups, estimate the usage for each group, and then simply add it all up. This simple formula becomes the roadmap for your entire analysis. Now, the real key to making that formula work is smart segmentation. We can't just assume every single person on campus uses the same amount of Wi-Fi. That's a surefire way to get a crazy answer. So we break the population into smaller, more predictable groups. For each of these groups, we'll use what's called a proxy, which is just a fancy word for a reasonable, educated guess about their data usage. Let's move to the calculation and see how this builds. So now that we have our structure, it's time for the smart part of the guesstimate, making some reasonable, back-of-the-envelope assumptions. We need a starting point, right? A total population. So let's just assume a round number, say 10,000 people on campus daily. Is that the exact number? Probably not. But using a nice, clean number like this makes our math way easier. Remember, they care about your logic, not your encyclopedic knowledge of AUB's enrollment stats. Now we apply our segmentation and give each group a proxy. Let's say residential users, the students living in dorms, maybe 2,000 of them, are the heavy hitters. We'll estimate their usage at 5 gigs a day. That covers streaming, gaming, you name it. Then you have the day students, a much bigger group, maybe 6,000 people, but they use less data on campus. Let's give them a proxy of 1 gig a day for classwork and social media. And finally, our third group, the 2,000 faculty and staff. Their usage is mostly for work, email, research, that sort of thing. So a lower proxy, maybe half a gigabyte per day, seems pretty reasonable. See how every single assumption is backed up by a little bit of simple, clear logic? And now you bring it all home. This is where that clear structure really pays off. It's just simple multiplication. 2,000 residential users at 5 gigs each, that's 10,000 gigs. 6,000 day students at 1 gig each is 6,000 gigs. And 2,000 staff at a half a gig, that's another 1,000 gig. You add them all up, and there it is. You have your final estimate. Okay, it's time to deliver the final answer. But you don't just spit out the number. You present it as the logical result of your analysis. This is where you show that you can synthesize information and communicate it with clarity and confidence. The final number, 17,000 gigabytes. And then you deliver the full polished answer, just like you would to a client. You'd say, based on segmenting the 10,000 daily users into 3 groups based on their Wi-Fi needs, my estimate for the total daily Wi-Fi data consumption on the AUB campus is approximately 17,000 gigabytes, which is about 17 terabytes. But wait, a truly great candidate doesn't stop there. They take it one step further by doing what's called a sense check. This is where you step back, look at your own answer critically, and talk about what it means and where it might be weak. For instance, you could say something like, now, this estimate is really sensitive to my 5 gigabyte assumption for dorm residents. If they use more or less, that would change the final number a lot. Also, this is for an average day. Usage would probably spike way higher during finals week. By pointing out the limitations of your own work, you're showing the interviewer that you're a sharp, critical thinker. Because at the end of the day, they don't have a correct answer written on a notepad. They want to see how you think. Can you take a messy, ambiguous problem, build a logical structure around it, and talk through your process with confidence? It's not about the right number. It's about the right thinking. So, are you ready for your case?